Welcome to another edition of the string changing series. I'm Rob Arnold, and today I'm just going to demonstrate a simple string changing on this acoustic here. And whether you're a beginner or a pro, I think you might pick up a tip or two. So let's get into it. Alright, so today, as I said, we're just going to be changing the strings on this old acoustic here. This is some Fender that I've just had around the house for years. I call it, I guess, my home acoustic. It just sits in a corner, and a lot of the time, if I got a riff in my mind, I'll pick this guy up, start figuring it out, develop it, record it on my phone, bring it here to the studio, develop it further. And so this thing has been the start of, or where I wrote a lot of killer riffs on it. So anyways, bringing it in for a restring today because I'm going to be using it in an upcoming video. And just thought I'd take you through my method. Nothing crazy, but just what I would do to restring a guitar and clean it up and get it tuned up and ready to go for whatever you need to do with it. So yeah, I'm just going to get started here. First thing you do, just loosen them all up. You've seen any of my other videos, a lot of the time with certain bridges, I don't like to take off all the strings at once. I feel that like a guitar sits best when it's just kept at tension most of the time. But every once in a while I will take off all the strings just to get it all cleaned up. But I would never like leave it with all the strings off for a long time, just even overnight. I feel that just the tension in the wood and everything that's married together and the way the guitar sits and feels, as long as it's a good guitar that stays in tune for you regularly. If it's a piece of junk, then it doesn't matter. But and this is kind of in between. There's just something about it. I like the way it sounds, and that's why I've kept it around. So those are loose enough there. And these little guys, these little white pegs, I just use a pair of wire cutters, which may not be the best thing. You know, I usually use wire cutters, but you know, try to set a good example here. I'll use needle nose pliers, and I'm just gonna wiggle that guy out of there, and then that string comes right out of there. It's just a particular type. A lot of acoustics have there's a lot of different bridges that do that, but this one, as we'll find, is just putting that ball in there, and then this thing has this slot down here that the string kind of lives in, and as it pushes down in there, holds everything down, just with tension, and the top of this being a little bit wider than the bottom, so as the hole gets tighter around this, holds everything in. Again, a lot of you may know this. Hope you don't turn off the channel right there. All this guy's just doing it completely for a beginner. But you know what? There's a lot of beginners that will be watching this. And again, if you've done this 1,000 times like I have, perhaps, you never know, you might learn something new. I learn something new seeing stuff all the time that I thought I already know how to go. But you see somebody's method, you see like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool, sort of thing. So at any rate, I'm just going through it so that a beginner could follow, and a pro maybe learn something too. Strings here. Keep your strings together. Always clean up. Everything's better, a little more organized. There is something nice about taking off all the strings at once. It's just easy. There's less you have to worry about. So it's just easier. You take it all off there. It's nice to be able to get a deep cleaning into your guitar, get into all the nooks and crannies. But again, I don't do it every time just because I just have this superstition that the guitar is meant to stay at tension. Also, a good rule of thumb is to put all these white guys back as you take the string out. Again, this is for a guitar that does stay in tune. If it stays in tune well, I like to, another superstition, I just like to keep it the way it was. I wouldn't like set these pegs all off and then put them back in different holes, even though they're probably completely interchangeable and it doesn't matter which one goes there, where. Just, you know, I try to take care of the guitar and have a good relationship with it, and hopefully it'll take care of me. These are garbage. I like to keep things nice and tidy. Better work environment, more organization, better results. All right, so I've been playing DR strings for a couple years now and love them. They've been great, but unfortunately I don't have any DR strings sitting around. And I have had the Adarios sitting around for years, so that's what I'm going to use. But first, I'm going to get cleaned up here a little bit. This guitar has some dust on it. I do take all the strings off. I like to go all the frets like this. Some of that gunk that collects right next to each fret. You feel it actually getting smoother and smoother there. You also sometimes want to watch the end of your the metal fret there has any little sharpness to it or whatever. It could pick up little pieces of fuzz that you'll want to remove. Don't forget the headstock. A lot of dust always likes to live around the tuners here. I keep a toothbrush around to get into all the little nooks and crannies, so I recommend that. A lot of the time when I am doing a full restringing, taking the strings off, cleaning the guitar up and all that, I'll do little things like making sure little screws are tight on my tuners, things that you don't think to do too often. That seems pretty tight. It's there. You can check your strap knobs, strap buttons, sorry, if those are tight. Just little things. Keeping it cool. All right, back to these strings here. I like when they have the little color coding on there, different color coded balls, when they don't have each string individually wrapped. So you can tell, but it's nice to have the little legend there. All right, so I always go low to high. So we're going to start with yellow. So, again, that little groove in the white peg, that's what's going to hold that in there. So you want to make sure that the groove is facing towards the headstock, because that's what's going to catch the string. Get that down in there, and all it takes is just a little bit of pressure there, push that down so it's snug, and that's pretty much going to stay. We get down here. What I like to do, I have the hole of the tuning peg facing me. I go around once, hold this down, and go through. Whole time, holding this down. You need to give yourself slack here. This is enough to wind. Okay, how much? Only experience can tell you. If that's enough, it might be a little bit, it might be a little bit too much. Let's see. I think it is a little too much. Okay, pull that in, everything's still held down there. holding this down so that it wraps consistently. That, and it's a beautiful wind. Okay, so away. Check down here, make sure, even though there aren't like saddles, just like to make sure that it looks like it was in the groove that it's made here. Okay, so now this little peg here should stay, but everything's kind of getting used to its new home. Give it a stretch. I like to keep my thumb or something right here, and then I'm going to pull up with my fingers and push down with my thumb at the same time, giving this a good stretch all the way. So I'm pulling up and pushing down with my thumb. And at the same time, I'm holding down here at the bridge, because if I wasn't and I pull up a lot, I'm just kind of pulling it off there, make it out of its groove, maybe pull this up at the right angle that might come out and everything. So it doesn't matter what guitar it is, I always hold it down right here. Give it a good stretch many times. Okay, now it's going to be flatter than it was. Just going to stretch it out. Okay, that sounds about like an E. But we're going to be going to drop C because the song I need this guitar for is in drop C. So that's what we're going to do. Low to high, that's C, G, C, F, A, D. Good idea to put two different tunings here too. If you're doing different types of tunings, just a little cheat sheet for yourself. You know, what is E, what is B, what is C? If you have a 7-string, all that, a lot of times it helps, you know, especially going to different tunings. So now, how to tune this? This isn't an electric. It doesn't have any passive in it. Any pickup in it, or anything like that. So a couple options are to have a tuner that has a little microphone built into it in some way, which this does not. So another thing that I might do sometimes, if you have a good ear or a good way to train your ears, I just go onto YouTube and I say, what is a C tone or E? A lot of the time they're already set up for guitars. E standard tuning guitar. You can just type that into YouTube and it'll play the pitch of each one and allow you time to tune up. And that's how I developed my ear early on. My first guitar teacher just made me a tape on cassette of him playing what an E was. You know, then an A, then a D, then a G, then a B. And so when I'd go home, that's how I would tune and stay in tune, just by listening to this tape and using my ear to tune up to it, and that really helped develop my ear. Also using the 5th fret method of tuning, going cross, which I plan to make another video about actually. So at any rate, I don't want to sit here and be referencing YouTube and stuff, so another method that I've used a lot of times is I have a microphone. And on this microphone, I have, most microphone cables have an XLR connection on the end, but this happens to go to a 1/4 inch that I can plug into my tuner here. Turn on the tuner, and I just have an SM57 here. And you don't really need to go crazy. It's going to pick up everything, but I'm going to put it just so it's touching the body. Doesn't even have to touch the body, just close enough. You could drop a lav mic into the hole here. Lots of different things. You could have, if you had a boom stand, have it pointing right down in it. But anyways, I just have it right under there, and you're going to see it's going to register right away at whatever this is. It's a D, okay? And we're going to be in C. Now, I'm not going to go crazy. I'm just getting into the ballpark there, because as we put tension on all this, it's going to pull the neck up and change everything anyways. So I'm just going to keep it in the ballpark as we continue, so that by the time I get to the first string, everything is sort of close. Okay, let's move on to the G, the 5th string. All right, peg out. Guy goes in there. Groove facing the headstock. Push down on this peg as I'm pulling up on the string, making a nice connection there between the two. Again, eyelet facing me. Around once, keep holding this down. And then through. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. I'm pulling it tight there. Everything's held down. As I tighten, it'll get a nice wind. If you give that, I'm giving that a stiff pull up, and it makes it stick up and stay out of the way. Another thing, even though these seem in the way, you may say, oh, just clip them off, get them out of there, get them out of the way. These ends here, I keep them on till the very end just because you never know. There's been times when I needed to remove the string or it broke or something, and had I not cut this off till the end, I would have been able to salvage the string. So I deal with the fact that these are in the way a little bit sometimes, and like I said, I use that method where I just yank them up like that a little bit, and it keeps them straight up and kind of out of the way. And then I'll cut them off after everything, all the strings are on, the guitar is tuning nicely and behaving properly. At that point, I'll cut them off. But you may do as you wish. All right, so probably gonna rip through this here in fast motion, and if I have anything to say, you'll know. Do I have anything to say? No, I was just checking if you're still there. No, I'm kidding, I really do. Again, by pushing down here and pulling tight at the same time, these wraps are gonna be nice. This wrap just got a little messed up because I wasn't pulling back enough. So when it's just kind of loose, it kind of will wrap itself kind of however it wants, sort of way. But if you're controlling the wrap by taking your time to get it around there, go through, pulling it tight, making sure you have enough slack, and then not only keeping that low against the headstock so that as it's tightening, it's pulling it in one way. If it's up, then it's going to go to the top. So you're controlling where it's going to go, and it has to go somewhere as it's wrapping around, so it slowly moves itself up, wind by wind there. But in this one, I wasn't pulling back hard enough as well, and it got too loose and the wind got slightly messed up. It's totally fine, it's gonna work, but I just wanted to point that out. Again, I'm tuning and stretching every time, every new string I put on as I go. So each time, by the time I get to the end, they'll be so close to just being tuned and ready. By tuning and stretching each time too, you'll notice that the guitar, each time you get back to the sixth string, it's a little closer to the tune it's supposed to be in, the fifth, and so on and so on. And every time these stretch and come back, it'll get a little bit closer and closer. And the benefit of that is that when you're finally done and tuned up, it's playable right away. A lot of the time, if you don't do this, or you just put them all on and then tune them all up, you start playing and it's out of tune right away, because a guitar that stays most in tune has its strings stretched out to the point where that's pretty much where they're going to live all the time. So the more you stretch them, the closer you get to where they're going to stay in tune. Okay, so at this point, all the strings are on. they're tuned pretty well, and I'm going to clip off the strings here, push down as far as I can, and then go close. And I'll push the end of the wire cutters here and kind of just dull that off so it's not super sharp. Again, push down so it's away from you. Nobody likes catching their fingers on these things. You know, you get that little puncture. So, clipped close, push it down, minding your paint job on your headstock, push down away from you with the end of the wire cutters, and that gets it bent and out of the way. I almost just cut through my second string there. Oh my gosh, that would have sucked. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it breaks soon. I think I got it a little bit. Uh-oh. That's why you gotta be careful. Not only with your headstock with this thing slipping into it, but where you're cutting. Anyways, it happens. One thing I'd also like you to notice is all my strings are wound in the same direction. These all go around this way, these come in, and all go around that way. If you don't pay attention to that sort of thing or keep it inconsistent, it's not as easy to just get used to tuning the guitar without having to think about it. Like right now, these are set up in this particular fashion where just counterclockwise on the tuning knob is sharpening the string, and vice versa. I know that sounds kind of weird. I would think that to sharpen the string it'd go clockwise, and you could if I would have wrapped around the outsides, but then this is just the typical way to do it here. At any rate, you just don't have to think about tuning so much. You grab the guitar, you feel something, oh, you just know what's going to sharpen and what's going to loosen. If all of them were different or there was total randomness to it, it would just be tougher to do, and it's best to get in good practices like this to just tune a guitar better. Alrighty, so clip those off, one last stretch, one last tune. One more little polish, get all the fingerprints and dust and whatever I just put on it. One final tune, and then we'll see how she sounds. Look at that, nice and close. However, nothing stretches the strings as actually playing it, you know? Until it sees combat, it's never going to be perfect. But this gets it super close. You jam on it a little bit, and then tomorrow it's going to play like butter and hopefully stay that way for days. If I'm sharp like that, I like to go a little flat past center and back up to it. Rather than just being sharp and then going back into key, I'll go past, right in tune, and up to it again to keep tension. All right. All right, let's see how it sounds. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you'll like and subscribe. I got lots of other videos that you might find interesting. Hey, thanks. thanks so much for watching. I hope you'll check out some of the other videos on my channel. I got other videos in the string changing series here, doing floats on Floyds, intonation, things like that. I also do a bunch of playthrough videos you might like. Watch me jam out a little bit. And then I got my Everything You Love show where I answer questions from people and go over guitar stuff, just do lots of cool stuff. So check that out. Thanks again. See you soon.